transportation funding currently goes to walking and biking combined, even though we're 19% of all trips and 39% of the people that are killed on our roadways. And so already we are getting far, far, far less than our fair share. So I don't think that we're going to bankrupt the system by building sidewalks.
Okay, thanks. We're gonna skip the Q&A and go right directly to housing sustainability and design. First up, we got Cassie Oagi, landscape architect from Forum LA Landscaping and Theodore Payne Foundation. She'll do a presentation on sustainable landscaping. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Oh, thanks. It's really meaningful for me to be here with you guys tonight, reimagining Van Nuys. As a landscape designer and a mother, I think a lot about what Los Angeles is going to look like in 2025 and even 2050. And I can see there's a lot of people who care. So I'm in good company, and thank you for being here. What I think about most is the backdrop. What's behind? Are we did it? Oh, okay. Well, I'm not really going with this.
Okay, sure.
So what I think about in Los Angeles really is the backdrop of LA. What's behind and in front and in between the housing and the skyscrapers, and what's on the sides and above our streets. I think about the spaces that define the way LA feels. My hope is really that in the not so distant future, that LA's landscapes become as authentic and diverse and an expression and as expressive as we are, and as distinctive and identifiable as our skyline. What would this look like? Well, I have a simple answer. I believe that Los Angeles would look like Los Angeles. But how many of you might be thinking birds of paradise and palm trees? Or the Tournament of Roses? Or gravel and cactus? That could be one. Well, it's kind of funny that we don't really have a clear vision of what this looks like. It's like a mom sending her daughter out on her first date and saying, "Be yourself." Well, that's a tall call, and we all have a different vision of what that looks like. But we all know that keeping up false appearances comes at a steep price. But we've learned because of the drought, and we have a better understanding of what some of those costs are. We know that landscaping uses the majority of our water, and that it feeds into the cycle of fire and flood and slides. and that it has a negative impact on the health of our children and our pets, and that if we don't conserve water more deeply, that the costs of transportation and infrastructure for getting it here will continue to rise. So, we're all ready to make the big sacrifice, right? Well, thanks to Quirino, I have this eye candy rolling behind me. And I personally don't really think that the sacrifice needs to be as deep as some may. Trading in our roses and bird of paradise for cacti simply changes our face to a place like Arizona. But what we're really going for is to create our own sense of place, our place here in Los Angeles. And when we find it, these costs of inauthenticity will fade. What I hope is visible here is that when we peel back the layers of our mask, Los Angeles has its own lush and lovely look. And while each landscape picture behind me is drought tolerant and vibrant, there's tremendous diversity in the foliage and the materials used for the paths and the patios and the driveways. So, what are the hallmarks of an authentic Los Angeles landscapes? Well, for one, diversity. Authentic LA landscapes will break with conformity and test the rules for the sake of self-expression, just like we do, and we have the freedom to do that. There are hundreds of native plant species here in LA and thousands more statewide. California is one of the most biodiverse hotspots in the world. And each one of these plants from here is adapted to thrive in our very hot and dry climate, as well when we have very saturated wet winters. So we'll no doubt pick some favorites from these plants, possibly for the sake of convenience or neighborhood uniformity, but it won't be for the lack of choice. And to state the obvious, we don't need to shovel snow. So having boring, straight, and rigid concrete walks and paths like we have elsewhere is just not needed. Our parks and paths can move like we do. We can use materials that bring patterns and color and soften our spaces. And in the midst of all of this creativity, there still may be some lawns, but these lawns will thrive and they won't need as much. There are beautiful California native grasses that we combine in unique ways and call them ideal mow lawns. And the reason we call them ideal mow is because you can choose how often you mow them. And there's a range of beautiful velvety green to hues of blue-gray. You can leave them long and meadow-like or cut them short and get them ready for roughhousing. LA is also not so much about bare dirt and sprinklers. Mulch gives gardens a finished look and unifies spaces throughout the garden. Drip irrigation keeps everything beautiful above with the infrastructure below. And it means that we can move through our gardens and our neighborhoods with greater ease. And an authentic landscape is taken to the curb. We don't have to spend our time and money maintaining parkways that we can't shape. Our parkways should be as consistently distinctive and beautiful as our architecture. In short, LA landscapes break with conformity, and they have their very own distinctive look and become an expression of an owner and beyond into the neighborhood. And in addition to their year-round vibrance, there's just a softness to them. If we have the courage to peel back our mask now, our beauty will be so much more than skin deep in 2025. The softness of our paths and our drives will recharge our groundwater table and protect us from runoff that erodes slopes and pollutes the oceans. Our wild spaces will be less susceptible to fires as we stop bringing invasive species into our spaces. And our diverse native foliage will make the city hum with birds and butterflies and an intoxicating scent throughout. And our ideal mow lawns can save up to $30,000 at the 10-year mark, a possible tuition. Fewer chemicals will mean healthier children and less allergies. And when we shape our landscapes the way we live our lives, we use them more. And contact with the out of doors has been shown to make us healthier. Getting real produces real results. And as the night continues tonight, I hope as you all continue to vision into tomorrow and the weeks to come, that I've given you a sense of how big you can dream and how important the backdrop is to the health of our communities and the overall feel of our cities. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Cassie. We'd like to bring Melanie Winter from Water LA and River Project.
Hi, those still standing or sitting? A widely spread group. I'm Melanie Winter. I'm the founder and director of a nonprofit called the River Project, and we work on watershed management. You can hear me, right?
We need the mic.
You do.
Yeah.
We work on watershed management in Los Angeles, so the intersection of water and land use, basically. Water LA is a program that we've been working on for the last several years with funding from the State Coastal Conservancy and the Department of Water and Power. And our slogan is Capture, Conserve, Reuse, which the DWP has since adopted as one of their own. And it encompasses all the different aspects of water. So drinking water, rainwater, groundwater, recycled water, all those things come together in how we think about water rather than just turning on the tap. One of the things we think is most important in dealing with climate change, in dealing with drought, in dealing with the different kind of weather patterns we're facing in Los Angeles in the 21st century is to reconnect people with where their water comes from. Do you all know where your water comes from?
The Sierras.
The tap, the Sierras. Anybody else?
Vons.
What? The Colorado River, Vons.
Lake Pyramid.
So 11% comes from groundwater. The rest of it comes from the original aqueduct, from Owens, the Colorado River Aqueduct, and the State Water Project in the Sierra Nevada, the Sacramento Bay Delta. A lot of those sources aren't going to be there for us anymore. A lot of them aren't there for us now. What we do have is a phenomenal storage under our feet. Our aquifer under our feet is huge. So changing how we manage land use can give us local water. I need to do this, yeah. Is there a clicker? I'll do, okay. Then I'll, like, all right. So what we've come up with is something called urban acupuncture. It's another way of looking at it. Because these are all small changes that people can make, but in aggregate together, they can make a huge difference to restore a healthy balance to Los Angeles' ecosystems. That it? Yeah. So you've all heard about the lawn rebates, getting rid of your lawn, right? We want you to not just get rid of your lawn, but also to grade your lawn differently. All of Los Angeles' buildings, all of our building codes have required you to throw your rainwater into the street. So all the rainwater that falls in your house is required to be moved out into the gutter as fast as possible. Those gutters are designed to move that water into the storm drains as fast as possible. Those storm drains go into the Los Angeles River and its tributaries, which are designed to move water out to the ocean as fast as possible. Bypassing as quickly as possible our underground storage, right? So a very profligate 20th century. But through making these small changes, we can make a huge difference. So grading your property to get that rainwater, to hang on to that rainwater, safely away from your foundation, but to keep it on your property, to let it infiltrate to groundwater, to nourish your landscape. We think if you're going to get a rebate for your lawn, you ought to grade your rainwater, grade your property to hang on to that water, right? So fixing your irrigation system, you can read. I'll be fast because it's late. So going native. Have any of your neighbors gotten rid of their lawns? Yours? Recently? You got rid of yours? Any of them look like that yet? Oh, good. So one thing to remember and one thing to share with your friends is native plants sleep the first year, they creep the next year, and they leap the next year. It takes patience, something we kind of suck at, right? We're used to instant landscape. But the benefits that natives give us so far outstrip the weight that you're put through. So this is what native landscapes look like, but it's not what a lot of people look like right now. They will soon. So going native. As I said, grading. This one in the middle here is in Panorama City. You don't see a big striking feature in the front yard, but that yard is graded to manage a 5-year storm. Nothing runs off her property in a 5-year storm. It hangs on there and it feeds the lemon tree, it feeds the natives, it feeds the pollinators, and it doesn't add flooding to the neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that suffers a lot of local flooding. More and more houses, as you do that, you reduce local flooding, you recharge the groundwater basin, you clean up water quality, all kinds, and you build healthy soils, which are in them of themselves a carbon sink. So you just start to add up all the positives in small ways, right? Things you can actually do at home. We don't like rain barrels. We keep hearing that they're a gateway drug, which is great, but I think of them as the tricycle, and we're all big girls now. So it's time to take off the training wheels and get to appropriately sized tanks and cisterns like they use in other places in the world. That little orange thing right there, 55 gallons. Who knows how much rainwater runs off of your roof if you've got a very small house like a 1,000 square foot roof. In an average storm, like say an inch in Los Angeles, how much rainwater goes off a 1,000 square foot roof? Who said that?
That's close.
Bart, 600 gallons actually. A 1,000 square foot roof gives you 600 gallons in a 1-inch rainstorm. And that's a 55-gallon tank. So time to get rid of the tricycle and get to the big bike. These tanks, these cisterns, they can be above ground, they can be below ground. They can be set up so that you can even use them for emergency supply in case of, I don't know, an earthquake or something. There's 4, I think those are 4 280s on the left. That's a 240 there, and I think that's a 560. Yeah. And there's different ways you can do them, in the side yard, in the front yard. You can chain them together like that. You can put one way out back at the back corner. There's a lot of ways to do this. Next. And when you do these things in concert, if you look at how you want to use your property and you decide where to put a rain tank and what you're going to use that water for and how you grade it and where it's native and what's edible and those things work together to support each other. The thing we've been pushing really hard on and that we're about to make a big change in Los Angeles is how we use our parkways, that space between your curb and your sidewalk. We're all sort of forced to water it, keep it nice, right? And usually when you do water it, a lot of that water goes into the street because those things are not that wide and your sprinklers are hard to calibrate and there's always, it's the social pressure to keep your parkway looking nice, right? And it's kind of a waste. However, the gutters, as the rainwater is going down the gutters, if we can cut, like you see there on the far right, the water takes a dip into these. You dig basins in the parkway, the water sidetracks in. When it's full up, the water just passes it by. But the water infiltrates down and it can fill again. This helps us clean up water quality. We were under federal court order to meet water quality regulations, facing an $8 billion liability for not meeting water quality standards. This makes it the easiest thing to do. No machines, just dirt and plants, cleaning up our water quality bit by bit by bit, not letting it aggregate and get more and more as it goes downstream. Bit by bit by bit all along the way. And it also does this amazing thing. You can support a street tree. So in neighborhoods where you don't have tree canopy and you've got a lot of heat and you think, I want to plant a street tree, but I'm going to have to water it with potable water, this allows you to support tree canopy and shade without a lot of additional potable water inputs. Stormwater, and for a while at least anyway, some more dry weather runoff can help support that. And again, it sort of checks all the boxes. It gives you habitat and water quality and water supply and reduces local flooding, gives you cooling. So the Bureau of Engineering is adopting our plan as into a standard so that it's something that people will be able to choose to do to contribute, or will be coming and helping you do them in your neighborhoods. Gray water systems, anybody here have gray water? Anybody not know what it is? Gray water. Gray water, let's say you do washing machines, right? Your laundry machine. You can hook something up so that you can flip a switch and your laundry water, which is perfectly good for your outdoor landscape, can, instead of going to the sewer, go outside and water your fruit trees, water your plants. Because right now, that laundry wash water, if you use good soaps, that water should be used again before going to the sewer. So this way, instead of using water to wash and water to irrigate your landscape, you can use gray water system. You could also hook it up to your shower or your bathroom sink, your tub. So water that's lightly used can be used again. And it's great for fruit trees. If you've ever wanted to grow fruit trees, but you thought, I really can't afford all that irrigation water, this is a good alternative. Yeah. A laundry to landscape system, you can do, the parts are a couple hundred, $200-300 for the parts, and they're not that difficult. You don't need a plumber, you don't need a permit. They're not that difficult to hook up.
So other than the water flushing the toilet, everything else would go through gray water, and would gray water then be integrated into the cistern rain barrel system?
You don't want to store gray water. You want to put it into the landscape. Storing gray water becomes much more complicated than you really want to go.
So it feeds directly into
Yeah, it'll go to your fruit trees or your plants or infiltrated to groundwater or, however you would normally use your outdoor water. The gray water goes there. You don't use kitchen sinks.
when you're using your inside water, you're actually irrigating your yard.
Yeah.
But you do have to use special soaps. It's not, you can't use Dawn. I mean, you have to buy the actual gray water.
Yeah, they're not that special anymore. You can get them pretty much everywhere. You just have to avoid salts and borons, but there's lists and they're kind of everyday, but yeah, they're good. You want to be careful with that. Next. Sorry, I'm keeping you busy. Breaking up hardscapes can really help as well, just by slowing the flow, right? Some of that water can get to the groundwater. Some of it just takes its time, so it allows to percolate, and it helps reduce local flooding as well. So just breaking up hardscapes and doing little strips in your driveway, or my favorite is the Hollywood driveway. It's totally old school. It's such an LA thing, right? This is the one on the far left. Y'all remember these? The one on the far left is in the middle. Yeah, that was one of those massive, let's make half of your yard a driveway that was all concrete. And we took a jackhammer and then put it back together in a different puzzle piece. And you do gravel subbase, yeah. Okay, last one. Infiltration trenches. You've seen these at the base of people's driveways and things, or if you're in a neighborhood that gets like ponding in some part of your yard sometimes, this can give you that void space and help you infiltrate that to groundwater, or at least keep it from ponding up against your property or running off into the street. So depending on what the issues are on your property, there are different solutions that have multiple benefits to them. So this is our pilot neighborhood in Panorama City. We had 24 homes we worked with. Those 24 homes in the first year conserved and reused 1.5 million gallons of water. They altogether saved quite a bit of money. We infiltrated, conserved and reused, we captured and infiltrated more than 500,000. This is a phenomenal opportunity for a whole new market of green jobs in Los Angeles. And the community awareness it increased a lot. So we've got these, the guides on how to decide what projects will work for your house, how to choose the plants that are going to work in the valley as opposed to the coast, as opposed to the mountains, how to do step by step, or if you want to hire somebody, what to look for. So there's how-to guides that go all along with this. We're trying to make it accessible to everyone, so it should be on the web. One-stop shop on the web, and we're designing a web tool that will allow you to make all those calculations without having to do crazy math on your own property, to track what your daily per capita use is, how it goes down, how the different projects can save you money and save you water. waterla.org. Depends on what your goals are. You set your goals in your water budget up front. What do you want to accomplish? You can start with something very simple that if you're reasonably handy, you can get done with your friends on a weekend, and you can start saving water, or you can start, reducing your runoff. It depends on what your goals are. But certainly you can do massive retrofits and cut your water bill in half and start doing all kinds of good things for less than a bathroom upgrade or a kitchen remodel or something. What we're trying to do, you need permitting to do a branch drain system, which is, so laundry to landscape, you don't need a permit. You do need a permit to do the shower or whatever. But we worked with the city and building and safety. The permit went from $1,300 in a 9-month permit down to $105 in 3 weeks. So again, we're trying to make them as simple as possible, because these strategies benefit us all, and we don't want to make it difficult for folks. So we continue to work with the city to get no-fee permits and to make online things doable. We're creating a training and certification program for all of these strategies to design, build, maintain, and support communities, so that if you just want to hire somebody rather than do the work yourself, you'll be able to hire a certified contractor. Or if you've already gotten rid of your lawn, you'll be able to hire somebody who's certified in maintaining native plants. We're working with Department of Water and Power and LA Trade Tech and all of our partners, our nonprofit partners in this program, to make that happen. It's not ready yet, but we're launching this year. And we're looking to locate resilience hubs in communities throughout Los Angeles. You can get free mulch in Los Angeles, right? But you usually have to borrow a friend's truck or rent one and get some friends and drive 20 miles to the site and hope that they have the mulch that day. So what we want to do is have these in each neighborhood council, well, at least in each city council district, so that you'll be able to go and look at the rain tanks and pick up your gray water kit and have a classroom and purchase the 3